Hi, welcome to our notes on our first unit in Unit 2, first section, Unit 2. Unit 2A, I can solve equations. One of the most important skills we're going to do this year. It's something we're going to do throughout the year. So equations, what makes something an equation? Well, you know something is an equation if it has an equal sign. If you see an equal sign, you know it's an equation. We're going to have to solve the equation. Okay, to solve an equation, we have a variable. So let's take a look at our first example. 6x minus 7 equals 35. So there's our equation. Our equation, if you have to, some people say it's a balanced scale. Remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So in this case, we got to look at our terms. We have a term with a variable, our variable term, and we have a constant term here. All right, any term without a variable, we got to get to the other side. We want to isolate our variable term so we can get that variable by itself. So in this case, this minus 7, all right, we want to get that to the other side. Well, to do that, we have to do the opposite operations. The opposite of minus is add. So we're going to add 7. Since I added 7 to this side, I must add 7 to the right side. Okay, look what happens here. Minus 7 plus 7 cancels out. So when I rewrite this, I have 6x equals 35 plus 7 is 42. All right, now I have 6 times x. Well, what's the opposite of multiplication? Well, that's division. So I divide this by 6, which will cancel. 6 divided by 6 is 1, which again cancels it out. Since I divided the left side by 6, I must divide the right side by 6. When I do that, I get my answer as x equals 7. A good way to check your work is you can plug this value back in for x to make sure it works. So let's do that real quick. Let's go 6 times, we said x is 7. Minus 7, and that should equal 35. 6 times 7 is 42. 42 minus 7 does equal 35, so it works. Let's take a look at a couple more examples. This one, we have z divided by negative 4 equals 11 minus 5. Again, the variable doesn't always have to be x, but in this case, we want to get z by itself. There are no other terms on the side with z, but on this side, we can combine like terms. Always look to combine like terms. So when we rewrite this, we're going to have z over negative 4 equals 11 minus 5 is 6. So now that z is being divided by negative 4. Opposite operations. What's the opposite of dividing? It's multiplying. So I multiply this side by negative 4, which cancels that out. Then I must multiply this side by negative 4. Take one thing away from this lesson. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Keep that equation balanced. So z equals 6 times negative 4 is negative 24, because a negative times a positive is negative. Couple more examples. This one, we've got more than one x. First thing we got to look to do is combine like terms. I can combine the x's here. On this side, I can combine 7 and the minus 19. So let's do that. 5x minus 4x is just 1x. But remember, you don't have to write that 1, because if there's no number in front, it's implied that it's just 1. And then I have plus 2 equals 7 minus 19 is negative 12. At this point, I want to get rid of that plus 2, so I'm just going to subtract 2. That cancels it out, subtract 2. So my final answer is x equals negative 14. Minus 12 minus 2 is negative 14. Again, if I plug that into my original equation, you will see for x, you will see that it does in fact work. One more example I want to take a look at. This one, a little different. We've got parentheses. 3 times the quantity 3x minus 5 equals 10x. If you see parentheses, the first thing you must do is distribute. Distribute. You guys have heard me say that. Okay, so we got to distribute this 3 throughout those parentheses. So when I rewrite that, 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. And then that equals 10x. Now I've got x's on both sides of the equation. I want to get all the x's on one side. I usually move the smaller number to the other side so I don't have to worry about negatives. So that's what I'll do here. I'm going to subtract this 9x. That cancels out. I subtract 9x to this side. I'm left with negative 15 equals 10 minus 9x is just 1x. There's nothing left to solve. So that's my final answer.